Put your hands up if you just wasted about 2 hours of your life watching an ultimate mid-off. I'm going to put my hands up because, guys, 90 minutes of absolute snoozefest. Absolutely. This is probably the most boring derby that I've watched in a long time. Manchester United 0, Manchester City 0. Let's talk about what we can talk about, because I do think there are some stuff for us. Be sure to hit the like button, guys, and be sure to subscribe as well if you're new here. Let me start with probably, I think, the biggest elephant in the room is that Bruno Fernandes is a pro amongst the most average of players. Like, again, I cannot fathom the discussions that have happened this season, especially in the last couple of months, that suggest that Bruno Fernandes is Manchester United's biggest problem. Today, he was doing everything he could possibly do to get Manchester United a goal, to put the ball in the back of the net, defensively in the deeper parts of the game, and also in the final thirds, always making the best pass or trying to make the best pass, make the right decision. And, you know, that front line that Manchester United have is just a very average front line. Now, I don't want to praise Bruno too much, because obviously Man United are in the bottom half of the table and there's really nothing for Manchester United this season in particular. But I, again, cannot fathom how people think Bruno is Manchester United's biggest problem. If Manchester United had a crop of clinical players, you know, players who have technical, physical ability, players that can create for themselves and also help create for others, I think Bruno Fernandes would flourish in this Manchester United team. But unfortunately, that is just not really the case. You know, I watched today again, Garnacho just, again, make poor decisions. Again, just, you know, I don't know what it is when he's playing on the left side of the 10. I just think he just plays poor. I think, you know, when I watch Garnacho, I'm watching a player that has so much to prove, but with every decision that he's making, I think he's proven a lot of other people right, rather than proving himself to a lot of the fans, if I'm being totally honest. You know, Manchester United in this season, I think I've noticed 3 things that Man United need: a striker, a much better front line option in terms of in the 2-10s. They need someone to replace Garnacho, and also Man United need a deep line playmaker, if you want to call it that, someone who's good on the ball in the deeper position. When Bruno goes into the central midfield role, in comparison to when you got Ugarte and Casemiro playing there together, you see what Manchester United lacks so much in build-up. Man United need a midfielder in the summer, and this is going to be a very interesting summer because Man United have so many positions to address, and I'm curious to see which parts that they choose to address early in the window, which parts maybe do not become a priority. But Højlund, for example, today, trying to make right runs, and when they tried to find him in behind, he can't get past Ruben Dias, he can't get past Vardio. And when Manchester United do, you know, hit on a counter or manage to dispossess, you know, Kovacic or Gundogan in the middle of the pitch, Bruno Fernandes, there's one particular passage of play, I think it was exactly the 27th minute, if you don't know what I'm talking about. Bruno Fernandes progressing the ball forward, he looks up, they're entering Man City's final third, and Højlund is making the diagonal run towards Patrick Dogu. Bruno Fernandes plays the ball to Patrick Dogu. As a result, Patrick Dogu gets the ball and he looks up. He can't play anyone in because Højlund is right next to him. At that point, I think in particular, what I noticed in that particular passage of play is that the centre-back, the 2 particular centre-backs in Diaz and Vardio shifted obviously with Højlund because of his run, and there was an immense amount of space that Højlund should have run in to instead of making that diagonal run towards Dogu. Maybe he didn't anticipate where Bruno would go. Maybe he anticipated that Bruno would play him in. But there was quite a few moments that I noticed exactly like that. And I'm not going to lie, guys. It was an absolute mid-off. Like, Manchester United weren't bad, but they weren't good. Man City, for what their standards are, I mean, Phil Foden, absolutely bang average. Kevin De Bruyne announcing that he's leaving Manchester City earlier in the week. And you know what I noticed in Kevin De Bruyne today is that even if he has the IQ never goes away. But once your legs have given way and once your body physically is on the decline, you can't play the passes that, you know, you were playing in your prime. You can't make the shots or score the goals that you were probably scoring in your prime, because he was shooting today. And it's good for Manchester United because it looked like there was no power in the shots that he was taking. Absolutely none. And you know what's actually the funny part for me is that Kevin De Bruyne on the decline when he's shooting is what I think we're so used to seeing from Garnacho right now. And that's not a man that's in a decline. That's a kid that's 20 that should be progressing and should have a high ceiling in regards to his talent. With Garnacho, when it comes to taking his shots, it's either it's got no power. It's very unconvincing in the fashion that he shoots. It's either, you know, he's going top corner a lot of the time, but when it's low shots, it's always getting dragged wide. It doesn't feel like there's much power behind it. There's not really much direction behind it either, so it tends to go wide. And that's why I'm saying Manchester United in the final third cannot do anything. Like, they have nothing in the final third. And I actually felt sorry for Bruno Fernandes today. I don't want to dwell too much because, like I said, this was a Manchester derby that neither team had absolutely anything to play for. Really, Man City are in a top 4 race. Man United are really just playing for pride at this point. There's not, you know, you're hoping to play yourselves into form that, you know, it hopefully relays into the midweek games, especially with Europa League against Lyon this week. So you're hoping a good performance against Manchester City could then obviously trickle in to the midweek game. But another player for me that actually played well, and I'm liking what I'm seeing from him outside of Mazraoui, who I think just becomes a very steady Eddie for Manchester United, is Leny Yoro at left-sided centre-back. Today, again, we've seen him play at the left-sided centre-back quite often, and in the first half in particular, he was frustrating Phil Foden a lot, because Phil Foden, when he did maybe get the better of Patrick Dogu, he had to get past Leny Yoro, and Leny Yoro was playing quite tight to him. He was stepping up. When he was stepping up, you know, you'd see Ugarte drop into that left-sided centre-back role just in case that Manchester City was able to exploit the space that Leny Yoro ended up giving up. But Leny Yoro, you know, stepping up in and out of possession, even on the ball, progressing the ball, he just looks comfortable and he looks like he's growing, and that's why I really hope he stays fit and gets a clear run of games for Man United, both at right-sided centre-back and left-sided centre-back, because today we actually saw some benefits of having him at left-sided centre-back when he's able to play that switching pass to Dalot, to Bruno, etc., whoever's on the right-hand side. Højlund really, I don't really think Højlund had much of an impact. Garnacho again, Ugarte, and I think Patrick Dogu, you see, you know, a very raw player. You see a very young, raw player that, again, I'm talking about these buzzwords, high ceiling, you know, potential, etc. But going forward, you can see just he's not there yet. He's not there yet. And that's totally fine, guys. That is totally fine. This is a young player that's still probably adapting to the Premier League and especially the physicality of the league. Joshua Zirkzee came on and had some impact in link-up play, but again, not enough for Manchester United to get that goal to kind of put the game to bed. It was nice to see Mason Mount as well make an appearance again. Every time he was on the ball and, you know, a crunching challenge came in, I'm just like, yo, Mason Mount, please stay fit. Be careful, because I'm just scared. I don't know if you lot feel the same, but I get scared when I see a challenge on Mason Mount, because I'm like, oh my god, I hope that doesn't make him injured. We saw Maguire, Lindelof, Onana as well. Again, everything for me was just Snoozefest. I swear, guys, I didn't feel at any point United could score. There were particular passages of play that kind of highlighted to me Man United's potential progress, but it's not immense progress. You know, in the first half, Man United was winning about 75% of their duels in comparison to Manchester City. Manchester City today, actually, I think in the first half, lost the lowest percentage of duels of any team in the Premier League in a first half game, which, again, that's a positive thing for Manchester United, because for far so long, especially this season, we've been critical of players being second, third to the ball every single time. So that just meant, and another thing that I actually noticed is that when Man United were kind of in their own third or in the middle third, if they get dispossessed, there was another teammate next to them to try clean up the rubbish, and quite a bit of it was actually Casemiro. But honestly, guys, at this point of the season, especially with the Premier League, there's really nothing to talk about when it comes to Manchester United. We can talk about the game and, you know, the things that we noticed, but a game like today, you know, Super Sunday, there was absolutely no build-up leading to the game, because, oh, how the mighty Manchester teams have both fallen. Manchester City looking like a shadow of themselves. Manchester United still trying to come to terms with, you know, this Amorim style of football, and you're seeing little glimpses of it. But I think hopefully next season we will be able to see it in a consistent fashion when you've got better quality of players. I think that's probably the biggest telling factor for Manchester United today, is the quality of the players on a consistent level and a consistent basis. I think Garnacho is getting these run of games in the 10, and it's probably because Man United don't really have anybody else there. And when he does play in the left 10 with Patrick Dogu next to him, I just think it's a waste because he likes to hold the width. Dogu likes to hold the width. You're better off putting Garnacho on the right-hand side of the 10 because you know Dalot is not always going to hold the width. Dalot likes to come into the half spaces when he's playing at wing-back. He likes to get into those creative little spaces, into the little pockets of space. So let Garnacho play, as the widest player on that side, rather than having two players on the left-hand side that don't really want to pass the ball to each other regularly and consistently. But let me know your thoughts down below. Like I said, guys, if you watch 2 hours of boring football, put your hands in the air. I'm putting my hands in the air. Be sure to hit the like button. Be sure to subscribe as well if you're new here. We got Leon midweek. That's going to be a very interesting game. Let me know your thoughts down below.